Uh, my subscribers went with Davey Grant. I went with Daniel Santos, and let me explain why. Right? I'll start off by saying Davey Grant is 39 years old at the bantamweight. That's not good, man. That's not good. And Daniel Santos, I understand that he hasn't been as active, but I don't know. I think he has a couple of wins in the UFC. I understand that he hasn't been that active, but based on his last performance, um, ish, on the feed, it's kind of difficult to actually explain in detail why, but David Grant is 39 years old. That's the first thing. Striking wise, I can give the advantage to Davy Grant as far as defense. I think Davy Grant is a little bit more defensively sound than Daniel Santos. I can give him that. Even offensively, I think Davy Grant throws a little bit more. However, as far as power and finishing abilities, I mean, I think Davy Grant is going to be a little bit more, will have a little bit more of an advantage on the ground to some extent. Whereas I feel like Daniel Santos, as far as power and finishing abilities, I think it's going to be on the feet for Daniel Santos. I'm a little bit worried because I feel like Daniel Santos absorbs a lot of punishment during striking exchanges. So I hope in his time away from the sport, or rather the time off that he's had, I'm hoping that he has significantly improved that aspect of his game because he's pretty decent on the as far as striking goes. However, my concerns are addressed by the fact that I don't think the fight is going to go to the ground because I think Daniel Santos has a decent ground game. I think he has good takedown defense. So even if David Grant tries to take the fight to the ground, I don't think he's going to be that successful. I can even see a situation where Daniel Santos is the one actually taking the fight to the ground. I wouldn't actually be shocked if that happened because I feel like he's very good defensively and offensively. He shoots a lot of takedowns during a fight. So, in all honesty, I think it would be in his best interest to take the fight to the ground. I'm hoping he does take the fight to the ground because on the feet, Daniel Santos gets hit a lot, and that worries me significantly. But I'm still picking Daniel Santos. My subscribers are going with Davy Grant. As far as who's the favorite and if I think an upset is possible, obviously because Daniel Santos does not have that many fights in the UFC, or maybe let me actually just be sure of what I'm saying. Let me check. Give me a few seconds. Okay. Um, Santos has fought Munhoz. He's fought Castaneda. He's fought Julio Arce or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, not that great, but I mean, it's something. The last person that he beat was Johnny Munoz. Munoz, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name properly. So the last person that Daniel Santos beat was Johnny Munoz, and he beat John Castaneda, which I think is a pretty decent win. And he lost to Julio Arce. So I don't think that's pretty bad, especially for someone who's coming up. And for someone, and he has, I think, about two wins. He's on a two-win streak. He's on a two-fight win streak. So I see, I like him a little bit more as a pick than the 39-year-old Davy Grant, who's seen a lot of punishment and who's absorbed a lot of punishment. And I don't know if the UFC is accurate as far as what do you call it, the odds are concerned, but Daniel Santos seems to be the favorite at this point, which is surprising because I saw a lot of people picking David Grant in this particular fight, but Daniel Santos seems to be the favorite. A small favorite, it's not a big favorite, but it seems like he's a bit of a favorite. Um, Sorry, I didn't see your Twizy. Sorry, Tweezy, my guy. Man, I'm worried about Santos almost getting smoked by Castaneda. I think Grant would beat both Munhoz and Castaneda. He's old, but man, he still looks decent enough to win. Okay, that's fair. The real Mondo Hello. Hi, man. I don't know if you're still around, Twizy. I apologize. I didn't see the messages coming up. So I don't know, man. I think it's hard to say because ultimately, until the fights happen, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to actually determine or even know how the fights would play out. Yeah, maybe Davey Grant still looks good, but I just feel like all that Daniel Santos needs to do is take the fight to the ground and he's going to win. That's my opinion. David Grant does not have a good takedown defense. And like I said, I'm worried because of his striking. He allows himself to get hit a lot, which is the point that you're raising is a solid point. But I honestly still feel like I don't know, man. I just feel like Daniel Santos. The only thing that Daniel Santos needs to do is to take the fight to the ground, and he's going to have an advantage. Um, I could be wrong, and this is not a confident pick, obviously. This is a close fight, so what you're saying about David Grant could potentially be right. So I could see a situation where David Grant actually finds a way to actually get it done. But in a situation like this, if David Grant is older, I can see a situation where Daniel Santos just takes him down and just controls him. He doesn't have to do much. Just take him down and control him, and I think he's going to be able to get the win. What are your first thoughts on Prates versus Gary? I think Ian Gary is very underestimated. I've been picking Ian Gary from the times that people didn't really see what he could do, right? I was a bit critical of him, but I was picking him in a couple of fights in the past. And even when I was breaking down the fight between Ian Gary and Shavkat Rakhmonov, if you remember that breakdown, it's still available on the live section of the channel. I did say that I feel like a lot of people are underestimating Gary. Yeah, obviously now Ian Gary is a favorite because of his performance against Shavkat Rakhmonov. But I've been saying, even in the Shavkat Rakhmonov fight, I did say that I felt like Gary is being underestimated a little bit. So in this particular fight, it's kind of difficult to say, largely because Ian Gary is a volume fighter, whereas Prates is a one-shot knockout kind of a guy. But Ian Gary is good enough to actually fight at range in order to avoid any significant danger. I can see him even mixing in the wrestling in order to get Prates tired. Ian Gary is a smart fighter, so he might take the fight to the ground and just tire him out. And after tiring him out, I could see a situation where I don't know, like Ian Gary finds a way to get a decision, right? Because in this situation, the thing that concerns me is that Ian Gary knows how to strike, right? So I could see him using kicks, using distance and everything like that, and then eventually using his wrestling to try and tire out Prates and Prates knowing the fact that Prates smokes um, when he's not in camp or even when he's in camp is not a good sign because especially because it's a five fight. Maybe I'll do a separate stream for this one, too easy. Maybe I'll do a separate stream. I don't want to make this too long, and people are coming in here to listen to David Grant versus Daniel Santos, and I'm breaking down the news. You know what? Maybe when I get home, what I'll do is I'll start a new stream and then I'll just talk about the new fight announcements. But yeah, for this one, I'm done breaking it down. If you want to rewatch the stream, you can go to the live section. All my streams, all the fight breakdowns that I've done so far are out. I'm going to break down the last fight for today. If you want to join me, let's go there. Until then, I love and appreciate all of you. Deuces.